let's say they're at 2 to 5 million a year, and they want to make the jump to 10 million a year or more. What would be your advice to them?
For both of those areas, especially with software, content is going to be king. If you figure that the sales process with both factors tend to be, e-commerce can be anywhere from a day or two to several months, and anywhere from 100, 150 touch points before end user decides to make a purchase. You got to figure that content's going to be king. So the more you can educate end user, kind of get back to the mantra of worrying about what end user wants and not what Google wants, being able to further educate clients as they move down the sales funnel is going to be absolutely critical as it relates to software-based companies, SaaS companies, things along those lines. The more quality content, the more relevant content that you can put out that is targeted towards what end users searching for, the success that they will see just is quite remarkable if they're following a very strategic plan in that sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. We're building relationships in a virtual silo. We're not able to meet in person, and we shouldn't expect that we're going to be able to meet in person to influence our end users. Like you saw a trend called experiential marketing last few years, where companies like Chipotle would rent out a city park and have a huge experience. Well, that's just not something they have an option to do anymore. And so you're right. Their only alternative is to create a better content strategy and to give their end user a better experience with that content. What are some of the great ways that you see companies engaging in a virtual silo just like this?
Oh gosh, I mean, it does depend upon what vertical you're playing in, but I think the general, the broad stroke is marketers or companies that are very true to their overall brand image has been tremendous. If it's a software based company that is really in tune with what their end user personas might be by providing content for 5 or 6 of the true personas have been established for that company. If it's creative engagement through Facebook, I think the overall, the very simple answer is being true to yourself as a brand and as an image. That is where the most success and the most interaction lays. Great content and great frequency.
Great. Well, we've covered quite a few things. I know that you've had a lot of experience watching the progression of digital communications. If you had a crystal ball and you were looking into the future, what would you see for companies that are trying to make a better impact, be more efficient with their online communications?
What's funny is that, in the past 12 years, 13 years at this point that I've been in digital. That's one of the questions. It's kind of the old interview question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's where I've seen, that's kind of the mentality that in every agency that I've ever dealt with that we've seen. It's like, how do you, where do you see yourself? Is it going to be, way back in the days when YouTube had finally started to monetize? Well, do we go full on YouTube? As Facebook started to kind of get their legs for advertising, do we start doing that? The very simple answer is know exactly what your audience is thinking, what questions they have, how your product, your service, your company can best fulfill it, and just as important, play where they're going to play. So again, I'm not an SEO expert. I'm not an SEM expert. I'm not a video expert. I admit digital. I don't want to say expert because it does sound arrogant, but I'm completely channel agnostic. So to be successful, you have to make sure that your marketing plan, in terms of execution and what channels you're playing in, continues to be pliable. But again, being true to your message, knowing what end user wants, and providing the best experience for them is absolutely key.
Yeah, and that has stood the test of time. I can definitely agree with you. The approach of using multiple touch points to make an impression on your most profitable persona tends to stand the test of time. If we're going to build trust with somebody online, we want to engage with them through email, through text message, through Facebook, through YouTube, as many ways as we can in order to build their trust. That I think even in my marketing 101 class, they said 7 to 9 impressions until somebody trusts your brand. What kind of approach in the multi-touch points do you like to recommend for your customers?
The business 101, marketing 101 of the 7 to 10 touch points is always stands true. Years ago, by years, I mean 7, Google came out with a study called ZMOT, the Zero Moment of Truth. And in that was right in the days of when online marketers really started to accept the fact that people don't live in a silo. So people might be affected by social media, paid ads, and organic and whatever other channels on it. At that point, Google had come up with a number that for buying an automobile, which is the second largest investment that anybody's going to, or traditionally anybody's going to make in their lifetime, that there was 35 touch points before somebody decided that, okay, I've chosen the model, I know the dealership I'm going to go from, and now I feel comfortable to reach out to. In the years since, we've seen that number jump up to 35 to 40 to 50 for somebody buying something as simple as a t-shirt online. So long answer to your short question, I think the key factor is as people are entering your sales funnel or your ethos or whatever term you want to put on, the more engagement that you have, the better. But again, at the same time, you've got to recognize where that persona falls in the buying process. People have just entered their email for information. They're not ready to be sold just yet. They're ready to do the research on why your company, why your product, whatever it might be, is helpful. Yeah. And then you start moving them down the line. So a very strategic plan, a communication plan with every touch point and every step within that sales funnel is going to be critical for a small mom and pop to a company that does $100 million a year across 3 or 4 nations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what you're saying is that the touch points have increased, and even if a potential customer gives you their email, they're still saying that you're going to have to do even more to get me over the fence. Exactly. And for that, a company has to sequence their remarketing in an elegant way that is appealing to that person who indicated they might be interested.
Absolutely. One of the best analogies that I had, and I'm stealing this from a client of mine a couple of years back, is as we're going through the sales automation process that we're putting together, was that, when somebody gives you the equivalent of somebody gives you the email, they're just ready to see if they want to go out on a date with you. They're not ready to get married just yet. So you need to follow that process. Ask somebody's name, meet, talk to them a little bit, ask them out, and then ask them to marry when the time's appropriate. You ask for marriage right off the bat as a marketer, you're gonna do more damage to your brand than positive.
Yeah, they won't be open any longer to your message.
Exactly.